Hi, all. Welcome to week 3 of the Rock Your Resolutions Challenge and our second nutrition um, lesson. We had our first nutrition lesson last week. This is our second. And I had planned to talk to you a little bit about protein, which we will do next week. But I've been noticing in a lot of your nutrition journals and then in the weekly review charts that there have been a lot of missed meals. We're missing a lot of meals and a lot of snacks. So I really wanted to kind of dive into why it's important to make sure that we are not missing meals or not combining meals into one larger meal or 2 to 3 big meals throughout the day, and how that can impact your fat loss and your results. I thought this would be a really important topic and kind of explain the why behind the what. And hopefully it will make a little bit more sense and kind of change the way you guys think about eating throughout the day, right? I'm going to go through this, but first I wanted to give us like a quick recap of week 2, and then talk about kind of what we should be looking for in week 3, right? And then we'll talk about fueling for fat loss. So recap for week 2, give me just a second, I'll move this over so I can see my notes. So again, with our workouts, I want you guys to make sure that you are getting your 2 strength workouts in each week, as well as 2 metabolic workouts. So if you're not there yet, make sure that you reach out to me and talk to me kind of what's going on or what the challenge is. How can we help you get to those 4 workouts each week? Those are really important so that you get the results that you want. And because remember, the end of next week, we're going to be putting our genes back on and remeasuring. So if we're not dialed in yet, let's make sure that we make those adjustments this week so that you can see some results next week when we put our genes back on. Make sure that you're lifting heavy enough. Again, we're shooting for that level 8 out of 10 on our strength days. So if you're not feeling like you're working at 80% or more, make sure that you adjust your weights. Maybe you need to be lifting a little bit heavier. You can also, if you don't have the option to get heavier weights, slow down the tempo. Slow down the pace to about half the speed and make your muscles have to work for longer. More time under tension can be very beneficial without having to increase the weights. And maybe you can add in a half rep somewhere. So maybe you're doing 1.5 squats every rep. So make those adjustments to make sure that you are getting that level 8 or 80% so that you're seeing the results that you want to. And don't skip the rest periods on the metabolic workouts. Again, we talked about this when we did, went through the in-person one. You want to make sure that you're working hard enough in those work periods that it demands that rest, right? So if you're just going through all the exercises with no rest in between, you're actually not getting much benefit out of it. So make sure that you are taking the rest and then working very hard during those work periods to demand or warrant having that rest. This week for your nutrition, I really want you to focus on not missing meals. We'll talk about the why behind the what in a moment, but you should be aiming to eat 4 to 5 smaller meals each day. Steady fuel throughout the day. Try to avoid packing it all into 2 to 3 larger meals. And then for the weekly reviews, I want you to go back through the nutrition guidelines. So take some time. This is really important. Go back through the nutrition guidelines and be really honest with yourself on if you've been missing meals. Make sure that you are giving yourself that X for those missed meals. And if you're not fully adhering to the guidelines, it's really important that you're being very honest and giving yourself a clear picture of where you can improve each week. So this is really for you. I want you to walk away from this challenge not only feeling great, looking great, fitting in your jeans, but also having a really clear game plan that you can take with you for the rest of your life. So the more honest and clear you are now, the better it's going to be for you to be able to walk away with this executable game plan of exactly what works for you and what you need to do to make sure that you continue to see results beyond this challenge. Okay, so you can kind of rinse and repeat. So now let's talk a little bit about why those 4 to 5 meals, those smaller meals throughout the day, are more important and more beneficial to you than packing all of your eating, your fueling into 2 to 3 larger meals, or only 2 large meals, or only 1 large meal. I've been seeing all of those in the nutrition journals. So let's talk about why that's important. So your blood sugar will dictate what your body does with the nutrients that you eat. So making sure that we're paying attention to what state our body is in with our blood sugar is really important for making sure that you're very specifically telling it what to do with that energy. So your blood sugar can be in one of these three states. It can be in a low blood sugar state, and in that state, that hypoglycemic state, your body will not burn fat. Its priority is going to be to use stored energy, and we call that glycogen. Glycogen is stored in both our liver and our muscles. It's going to use that for energy. And that's going to leave us very tired and unable to perform the level that you want to. One, converting glycogen into energy is very energy taxing. So that is going to make you feel tired already. But then you really don't have that stored energy in your body to be able to use it to balance your blood sugar. And that's going to leave you feeling very foggy in your thought process. So maybe you've noticed that at work. If you're, not eating a lot, then you don't have clear thought, right? Which is going to lead to a lot of other things. But I really want you guys to feel good throughout this process. And if you're in a constant or in a frequent low blood sugar state, you're not going to be able to think properly, and you're not going to be able to exercise to the level, to that 80%, or give your full effort and perform at the level that you need to demand your body to have to adapt and get better results. The other state that it can be in is a high blood sugar state, so hyperglycemic state. And in this state, your body is in excess. It has more energy than it needs to do the exercise or the activity or the thought process that you're needing or you're requiring of it. And therefore, it's going to first replace and replenish any glycogen stores that need to be topped off. And then it's going to store any excess as fat. Remember that we don't store any excess energy as muscle. Our body has to replace muscle every single day. So it breaks it down, it builds it up every day. It does not store excess muscle. I wish it did. That would be really nice, but it doesn't. It stores it as fat to be used for energy. So we want to make sure that we're not in that constant hyperglycemic, high blood sugar state, because we don't need to store any excess, right? We don't want to trigger our body that we need to store as excess. And moreover, if we have these high highs, our body is going to use all that blood sugar up or store it, and then we drop down into a low low. So the more high peaks that we have, the more low lows that we have, and then we're in this kind of slippery slope of just trying to, like, our body wants to get back to a happy place, but we're just in highs and lows. So we're going to be craving energy when our body is in low blood sugar states, and then when it's in the high blood sugar states, we're going to feel, like our body is having to work really hard to balance that out, and it's just a really slippery slope. Maybe some of you guys have experienced that. So what we really want is the third state, the one on the right. We want a stable blood sugar state where we're giving our body a little bit of energy constantly throughout the day. So we don't have these high highs and these low lows. We're giving our body exactly the nutrients that it needs to perform optimally and deprioritize storing excess energy as fat, right? So that's what we really want. We don't want to be in these highs and lows. We want to be in this just nice, happy, energy, stable state, so our body can perform optimally and do exactly what we want it to do, which is to prioritize rebuilding muscle and deprioritize storing fat. We want it to burn fat. So I gave you guys the analogy in your nutrition guide to think about your body as a fat burning machine, which we need to keep running, but we don't need to overload it, and we don't want it to be puttering out. So those three states of blood sugar are kind of those three states of your machine. If you're not giving it enough fuel, it's going to putter out. We're going to crash. We're not going to be able to sustain either at all or sustain at the speed or level that we want to or we need to. So if we don't have enough fuel, we'll putter out. And if you're waiting until you're running on fumes and then giving your body a ton of energy, you're flooding your engine with fuel, i.e. waiting until you're starving and then eating a bunch of food, then the machine, your body, will be too overloaded to run optimally. You're going to feel sluggish, you're going to feel super full, you're just going to lay on the couch wait until you feel better. So what we really want is that steady flow of premium fuel going into our fat burning machine, giving us the energy that we need to perform at whatever speed we want to without puttering out. So that's what we're really aiming for. And I've given you 6 ideas of things to do, or 6 tips, 6 guidelines to use to make sure that you are giving yourself that steady flow of energy. So don't skip meals. That is priority. We have to make sure that you're giving yourself that stable energy source, so you're not having those peaks and valleys, right? We're not waiting until we're puttering out to give ourselves food, so don't skip those meals. And moreover, fueling is more important earlier in the day. There are a lot of studies that show that, we aren't perfect machines. We are, living beings, and things are a little bit more complicated than just like a straight machine, energy in, energy out. So there are a lot of studies that show that our energy usage in the beginning of the day is different than the end of the day. What our body does with the same amount of energy is a little bit different beginning and end of day. And eating more food toward the beginning of the day seems to be more beneficial for fat loss than eating at the end of the day. So that's why I prioritize eating breakfast early. Make sure you have breakfast within about an hour of waking up. Okay, don't skip breakfast, and make sure you're having it as soon as possible after waking up. And then continue to fuel your body with 4 to 5 smaller meals spaced throughout the day. So that's about every 3 to 4 hours. And then again, make sure you have that energy at the beginning of the day. You don't need as much at the end of the day. You don't need to be having big meals at the end of your day when you're kind of throwing down to go to bed. Make sure you're having protein with every single meal and every single snack. Protein is really beneficial, not just for muscle rebuilding, but also for stabilizing blood sugar. So, the same amount of glucose providing food will have different metabolite or metabolizing depending on what protein you have with it, or if you have protein or not. So it will help to provide a more stable energy source for longer, which is why you feel full, and you feel full for longer when you have protein. So make sure you include protein with every meal, with every snack. And then have a small snack before you start your workout. If you haven't eaten a meal for 3-4 plus hours before your workout, you're running on fumes, and you're not going to have a great workout. You're going to feel tired. You're not going to feel as able to lift heavy enough to get the adaptation we want. So make sure you're having some fuel going into your body before you start your workout. So again, here are some tips for making sure that you are properly fueling yourself. You need to plan ahead. Okay, you need to stay ahead of your hunger. If you're waiting until you're hungry, it's already too late. You're already in that low blood sugar state. So make sure you're planning ahead to stay one step ahead of your hunger. Make sure that you have healthy snacks ready to go. If you're waiting until you're hungry and then looking for things to eat, your body is going to look for easy energy sources. And those are usually not the things that are on the plan that we've set out for ourselves that we're going to get the results. So make sure that you have those snacks ready to go, that you are, when you're getting to that place where you might be falling into that low blood sugar state, you're not starting to crave those high energy foods, chips, snack foods, junk foods, things like that. You have something in your eye line ready to go. You can even set a timer for yourself. So at least at the beginning, just to kind of get your body used to being on that stable energy source, set yourself a timer for every 3 to 4 hours to make sure that you are then going and getting yourself a snack. You're not waiting until you're hungry to dictate that. And you'll notice when you start getting in that habit that when about that 4-hour mark hits, you start to feel hungry. And that's your body telling you, I'm starting to dip down into that low blood sugar state. I need fuel. Make sure you eat that small snack. Again, we talked about this. If you haven't eaten more than 3 or 4 hours before a workout, make sure that you have a small snack with some protein, with some carbohydrate to sustain your workout and perform in a happy, optimal state. And I'll give your body the energy that it needs. And if you work out first thing in the morning, which a lot of us do, you haven't eaten for many, many hours, right? So you're in that fasting state already. So make sure that you have some fuel. If you don't eat a snack before, maybe have half of your protein shake before you start your workout, or right at the beginning of your workout, and then have the other half toward the back half of your workout or afterward, right? So I want you to think back to the last 2 weeks, these first 2 weeks of our challenge, and think about, have you been thinking about eating those 4 to 5 smaller meals? Has that been a challenge? Have you been actively thinking about it, or is it just kind of something that you weren't prioritizing because you didn't know why it was so important? And I want you to pull out your weekly review chart, and I want you to notice if there's patterns in meals or snacks that you've been missing. if you're consistently missing that mid-morning snack, that's a really easy adjustment that we can make this week, right? So I want you to be, again, that's why it's so important to be so honest and clear on your weekly reviews and in your nutrition journals, because now we can go back and we can make some adjustments. It's not a guessing game, right? We're very clear and deliberate in our actions. So I want you to think about what steps can you implement this week to ensure that you're staying in that stable blood sugar state, so that you're not falling into the low blood sugar and you're not jumping into the high blood sugar state. We're going to keep that stable energy source. So what steps can you take that you're going to implement this week to help move closer to that stable energy state? All right. And then I want you to bring it to the group chat, bring it to that community space where we can talk about it, right? If you're struggling with, I have a really hard time eating that mid-afternoon snack. What have you guys tried that's worked really well for you? And we can talk about it there. All right. So think about that. Be really clear, be really honest, because remember, next week we're going to be putting our genes back on. And I really want you to see those results. It's going to be really clear if we've been having some struggles. So this is our time to make those little tweaks, make those little adjustments. We have all this week and most of next week to make those little tweaks so that you can see the results that you want. And that's what I really want for you. All right. So thank you guys for your time. I look forward to getting that discussion going in the group chat about this topic. And then I will look forward to talking to you guys soon. Have a great one. Bye.